is basically so-called on the cluster approach, but it is not really in terms of your standardizations or a real effective strategy when you're talking about India. And what it, just to give an example, that's what do you really call a cluster in terms of the support strategy, whether a cluster is a group of 20 or a cluster is a group of 15 or 50. So these are the kind of dichotomy which is happening in India. And in terms of the support budgets also, and while it's basically going into the direction of that's what you really can do in a right way to learn from the cluster experience in India, that's with the limited budget is being tried to spread across the all too thin on the whole breadth of 6,000 clusters and not really trying to prioritize and focusing on the certain things. And currently also in terms of our support strategy on clusters, there is hardly, I think the penetration level is still very limited, 1 to 2% kind of things. When you look into that, and I'm just trying to give you a picture, that's what really we can look into the clusters in India. One of the major weaknesses into the whole game of cluster promotions or how you can achieve this enterprise development through clusters is basically the lack of aggregators, the demand side, their capability. And associations is one of the real player, but their capacity is really weak, and the huge trust deficit between the governments and associations. Can you have the next one? Just some of the highlights from what are the challenges. That's when you trying to, and because I think the focus, what I really gather is that's how you can really interact and do business with the Indian small and private enterprises. That would be one of your interest area. And one is the associations, local associations are one of a good link, still despite all of these weaknesses, to really identify that which would be your right partner or could be right partner. The right partner could be if you want to invest in a small company, that's now the flexibilities are coming, you have got the SME exchange and those kind of things. Or if you're really looking for a, let's say, supplier or a vendor for parts, for components, for garments or anything, then if you really want to identify a partner, then association could also be one of your good source to understand from the enterprises. Next one. And just looking into that, if we are talking of clusters, promotions and those kind of things, what we really can learn from our experiences so far. That's what we have been doing and what can be done is basically to take into account the demand orientations and how really you can support the stakeholders, social capital of the stakeholders. It basically falls down to the cluster association, the management, and providing support not only for some specific activities, but going into more of a kind of a strategic orientation of these, what we have in Europe, something like cluster management organizations, how you can bring that kind of element into India. I think that's one of the missing factors currently in. Just following on the same thing, it's what can be done or what should be done really is basically about assisting the cluster associations into how they can become more of self-financing or sustainable income generation kind of activities where they can really support these enterprises, because currently enterprises have lots of issues. The government is trying to tackle that one, and the role of cluster association, the cluster management organizations need to go into these kind of things, and government also need to look into this performance-based public financing. That's what you really finance, where you put your money. These factors need to be taken into account. As I'm working with GIZ, and where we are trying to cater to as a part of the program, where we work not only with Ministry of MSME, Government of India, but also with the Small Industry Development Bank of India. So all the challenges, all the opportunity that's the Indian clusters are throwing around. What our focus where we are identifying is basically on this missing link of cluster association. That's how we can strengthen as a part of the program to build their capacity so that they can leverage and tap the resources which is available from the central government, and also can provide simultaneously the services for the benefit of their member enterprises. That's the focus of our work in this whole ball game. And these are some of the lines which I have been talking about. That's where we are focusing. Strengthening their capacity in service delivery, in international tie-ups, kind of things where they can really bring their enterprises and can link up them into the international other associations who could have the matching demands and those kind of things. From the government sides, tapping the resources which is already available, and doing the whole capacity building in such a way that where the associations can take up these jobs on their own, building their capacity to perform all of this. And these are some of the things where we are focusing specifically on BMO. I think just keeping this 10-minute timeline in mind would sum up it in a way more from clusters and clusters in India. I think there are huge opportunities available for just taking forward the theme which Amit was talking about. If you really want to do business with Indian SME, because that's the field I work in this micro, small and medium enterprises, then definitely there is a huge opportunity in terms of not only just as a finding a right vendor, but putting your money into the many of these growing area of economy, and with all these framework conditions changing, that's where the equity investment in small and medium enterprises being allowed and those kind of things. There is a huge opportunities which I think the both as a Basque country representatives and India can benefit together. So thanks a lot, Amit, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. That was quick. Thank you for sticking to your time and yet making almost everything that people would have expected to hear. So I bring to a close this particular session, and thank you very much, all four gentlemen, for your remarks and your insight. If you could kindly join in downstairs, and if I may request the panelists for the second session, to start with Editor Anil Padmanabhan, who kindly takes the center stage. We'll take 2-3 minutes to put this together. Anil, if you can take over. Would you like to introduce your panel yourself? Thank you. And joining Anil, if I may request, we need a minute or two. So we have for you a very interesting mix of panelists, befittingly three from both sides of Spain and India. The Minister for Industry, Innovation, Trade and Tourism of the Basque Regional Government of Spain, Honorable Bernat Ande, is here with us. And we would also have very shortly, while the lights go on, the Director General of the Center for Development of Industrial Technology, Ministry of Economy and Competitiveness, Government of Spain, Eliza Robles, here with us. Thank you for joining. And we also have the Director of the Basque Institute of Competitiveness, who has already raised his hand once, and now he will be here with us on stage speaking about the areas which Mr. Padmanabhan shall anchor. Among the Indian CEOs, we have a very interesting and talented panel. We have Sandeep Singh, who is the CEO of Remorphing, which I understand is a medical startup from a very well-known Indian group. Then there is Jyoti Bachani, expert in innovation, California. That we keep some time for questions and answers as well. Would you have some time for that, Anil?
Yeah, sure.
So it's about 6 o'clock, and strictly we should have finished in 10 minutes. So I guess that's not going to happen, and we'll give it another 25-30 minutes to get going. And if you can take a big hand for the 7 people.
Bilingual format, ¿Cómo estás, amiga and amigos, if I may say so. So welcome. And this is a very good setup. You know who's the moderator and who's not. So I think the Amit and everybody else ahead of us have very clearly set out the agenda. Both sides are looking to see how we can synergize the competitive advantage of both regions. So I think that since the context is set, so what we can do is, since we're also short on time, I'll just try and crunch everything into a quick session. So what we can do is, we'll direct this question at the panel as to how this synergy can be managed And in true Indian hospitality, we'll begin with our guests. And if I could request the Honorable Minister to lead the, and tell us how do you think this competitive advantage of your region can be synergized with India's competitive advantage?
So, well, first of all, because of the synergy between two so different as a region, but also as a subcontinent as India, is different, but at the same time, as one panelist mentioned, the cluster association, the better of this, the advantage is how to proceed from the bottom up to organization. What means that? Means that in our region, I remember that we are working in several associations, very, very small companies, and the advantage for the clusterization was enormous because they have the possibility that, taking account that 90% of our companies are small or micro small companies, then the relationship between them has the possibility that they are stronger. At the same time that they are compete, they are cooperate, and then with this system is a system that they are stronger in the markets, stronger to internationalize, stronger to put in the company's innovation, because of the most weak of a small company is absorb the innovation because of the human resources very, very, very low. Then I think so that in a small scale is possible apply in many, many other places, in many, many other sectors or companies. For example, I remember when I was in Harvard University, given our case, explaining our case, this case was one city, New York, one region, Basque Country, and one nation. In this case was Singapore. And the advantage of applying these tools for others is that they have the opportunity to know your system. I remember that I finished my intervention there in Harvard was talking that resist. The strategy that we put because of the crisis in the Basque Country is very, very logical. We apply to resist. Resist why? In order to compete and later lead. The key is resist first, because if you don't resist, the companies don't resist, never has the possibility to compete, even if they are very, very good in the competition. But the other hand, it's necessary to lead from the government, from the institution, the competitive transformation. This strategy you can apply in all around the world. It's not only for a region, for a city, or for a small country. It's possible to apply. The lead strategy supports in a public-private collaboration, promotes strategic initiatives for the region with holistic perspective. And the main objective is to stimulate the demand and activity through the promotion of the related diversification, demand sophistication, and smart specialization in cooperation. That is where you are strong, and then promote the related diversification. And demand the sophistication. What means that if you have a client or a society that you have the possibility that is a very, very difficult, you are better. If your custom is very, very hard, you are better. You are increasing. You are over better. And smart specialization in cooperation is clear. Is the cluster aim. That is my opinion about that.
Ma'am, according to you, if you can pick up on where the minister just talked about, so which are the sectors where you think BASC could contribute in pushing the synergy?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I come from the CDTI, which is a national agency depending on the Ministry of Economy and Competitiveness. And as we were told before, Spain is organized in regions, and one of the most important regions as far as technology and industry are concerned is the Basque Country, the Basque region. And I think they are strong in different fields, which I would like to underline some of them, like biotech, machine tool, aerospace, aeronautical and space, and tell me if I'm wrong, please. And they are really strong in these areas. So we as national agency in charge of financing and promoting R&D from the industrial side and innovation, we are really trying to support projects coming from industries, Basque Country, other regions, and the clusters too, in order to implement their strategies in these technology fields, which we think are strategic for Spain, and also for collaborating with India, as it is the case now.
So if I've understood you right, you're saying that like the minister said, the primary competitiveness is in small micro enterprises that BASC has. And within that, you're saying these are the sectors, biotechnology, aerospace.
Yes.
Okay.
The SMEs, the small and medium-sized enterprise in these sectors are quite good, really good.
So finally, from BASC, Mr. Corbello, could you just develop on this a little further so that our next speakers, the Indian side, can come forth with what they think they can contribute in the synergy?
Well, the Basque economy at the end, as has been referred before, is an economy basically of small and medium enterprises, in which there are few sectors that are leading sectors in the Spanish economy and have even a very important position in the European arena and worldwide. There are activities related with machine tools, with transportation, all the sectors that were named before. What is important is also what the minister was emphasizing before, is having a strategy, not only a sectoral strategy, but also a strategy of how activities evolve from the current status of activities to another fields. And it's what he has been called as related diversification. We have to diversify our economic structure, going to sectors of higher value added incorporation, knowledge incorporation, so that we are able to be highly productive and being highly competitive in the world over. In order to do that, in today's world, in which we have an economy in which the demand is moving away from the traditional centers, the demand that is growing there is a demand that is different from our demands. So we have to learn how the other people demand, how the other people use gadgets, how the new demand is being developed, so that we have to learn and we have to innovate our production processes so that we are able to satisfy the demand. Again, is whatever Porter used to work. Porter used to say that we have to apply our activities to that demand that is as much sophisticated as possible. But the thing is that the demand that is sophisticated today is not our demand in the central countries. The demand that is more sophisticated today, because it's unknown for us, and we have to remember how they demand, is in the new emerging countries. So that is what I would say, that we have to emphasize these things of related diversification. We have to introduce knowledge, and we have to introduce learning in our own processes for innovation.
Thank you. So the stage is clearly set. If I can just take off to our Indian side, all of you have followed the discussion. There is an enormous opportunity of where they can export technology and innovation to our side. So ma'am, if I could request you to talk from the Indian perspective, where you think the synergy can be managed.
So just to set the context, I am a professor from California in India to study the Indian innovation practices, particularly in the area of management. And I've only been in India for 3 months, so I think it would be better for me to stick to what I know. So I will share a quick story about California. I come from Silicon Valley, and if we are talking about innovation clusters, that's probably the best known innovation cluster in the world today. And how did Silicon Valley become what it is? You might have heard different versions of the story. Of course, Stanford University is there, Sand Hill Road with a well-developed system of venture capitalists is there, lots of entrepreneurs who are interested in pursuing good ideas. There's funding for pursuing good ideas, collaboration between the university-based research and industry-based research is all there. But if you look at the story, Boston has a very high concentration of universities, Harvard, MIT. Route 121, right outside Boston, was also a hub of computer companies in the 70s. And it could have easily become another innovation cluster, but it failed to. Why is it that Boston was not able to nurture the innovation cluster that it had all the seeds for in terms of the money, the research, the ideas, the entrepreneurs?